What's going on, y'all? Welcome to this special bonus episode of the Half Price Concessions podcast. This episode is dedicated solely to laying out our plans and ideas for the Half Price Concessions broadcast network, a new venture and a new idea we want to try to tackle heading into 2021. On the other side of these messages from our partners from North Carolina 811 DIG and the Performance Center Racing Warehouse, we'll lay out some of the details and some of the ideas behind the formation of this new idea.
Planning on doing some digging in your yard? Your simple backyard project could quickly turn dangerous. Buried underground cables and lines are just inches below the surface, so don't forget to make one very important call to 811. Calling 811 is the first step in having your buried utilities marked so you know where it is safe to dig. 811 is free, it's fast, and it's the law. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
This episode of the Half Price Concessions podcast is brought to you with support from Performance Center Racing Warehouse. In addition to being the home of the PRW chassis, Performance Center offers in-house setups and consulting, plus suspension and chassis pull-down analysis, along with their fabrication shop that can re-clip your race car with the fastest turnaround in the industry. Give Roger Johnson and the Performance Center team the chance to earn your racing business by calling them today at 704-838-1400 or visit them online at performancecenter.com. That's PERFORMANCENTER.com. First and foremost, we cannot say thank you enough to those of you who have been listeners of the Half Price Concessions podcast. This thing started off as just a place for us to have a few conversations and banter a little bit here and there about local and regional and national racing, but it quickly turned into a platform to hear some amazing stories from people all across the spectrum of racing. From these conversations and episodes, I've personally been reminded of just how many people have a passion for racing at the local and regional level. The drivers who have a passion for going out on the track and putting on a show, the fans who have a passion for being at the racetrack week in and week out to support and watch their favorite drivers, the officials and the announcers who have the passion to give up their free time to help promote and do the work behind the scenes to make the show happen on Friday and Saturday nights across the country. They reminded me that being on the sidelines isn't where I want to be. I need to get back into calling racing, but I wanted to do so in a different way than I had before, down a different path, if you will. A little backstory on me. I started calling races as an announcer back in 2010 at Ace Speedway. Back then, I was a 21-year-old kid who was absolutely on fire as a race fan. I just happened to call races. I called them in the way I felt people would want to hear in the grandstands, giving information calmly, only raising my voice or my tone of voice when something special was happening. I didn't try to hide my southern accent, and I didn't aim to sound like someone I wasn't. The racing is what's most important, not the person holding the microphone. By the time 2019 had come around, I had felt burned out. At the age of 30, I felt like I'd been a failure because I hadn't been able to work my way up to the Motor Racing Network or PRN, nor was I ever at any point in my announcing career doing this for a living. It was a nice paid hobby on the side, and that's all it was. I quit every announcing gig I was working on, completely cleared my schedule, and only agreed to do 5 dirt modified races, which ended up being only 2 here in 2020, thanks to the weather and COVID-19. But for 2021, or maybe even sooner if the right opportunity presents itself, I want to get back to doing what I've loved doing since 2007, doing audio play-by-play. And there's no better sport to do it for than local short track racing. We're going to do this free of charge to listen. We'll most likely be using Twitter's live audio platform simply because of easy accessibility. Plus, it's easy to use on my phone at the racetrack, so I don't have to be in the press box and I don't have to have Wi-Fi necessarily. I just have to have a good signal and somewhere that I can stand with my phone with my microphone plugged in. So be sure while you're thinking about this, to go and bookmark our Twitter page. It's www.twitter.com/HPC podcast, and make sure that not only you follow us, but you turn the notifications on so that you can keep up with when we go live. Of course, we'll blast it all over our Facebook page and Instagram and all that other stuff. We'll try to get the word out as much as we can, but our Twitter page will be the best place to stay tuned because that's where we'll be going live from. If you follow us on Facebook at the Half Price Concessions Podcast, our podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google, we'll also be letting you know early in the week where we'll be broadcasting and when we'll be broadcasting. The first place we currently plan to start with this idea of broadcasting races audio only over the internet is at my home track of A Speedway in Altamaha, North Carolina. A Speedway is the place where I first got my start in race announcing and did so off and on for about 7 years. And I want to give a sincere thank you to Jason Turner from A Speedway for even being open to this idea. We had a conversation about it, talked about it a little bit, and I reminded Jason that this is really something I don't see a lot of tracks doing. There's not too many people providing this kind of thing. Some tracks are offering pay-per-views and whatnot, but this is a chance to have an audio broadcast of the races, something that can keep people informed if they're not able to be at the racetrack, but can maybe also help lure people to come to the Speedway in person, which is what the racetracks really need. So again, I want to thank Jason Turner at A Speedway for even being receptive to the idea. By providing live audio broadcasting of local racing, we hope to accomplish two things. First things first is to promote these racetracks and the entertainment that they provide to bring more people through the gate and into the stands. Second is to provide fans who couldn't make it to attend the race in person a chance to keep up with the night's action. To be clear, this is going to be an online broadcast only. If you're at the racetrack just listening to the PA system, you're still going to hear the track announcers. That's not going to change that. That's not going to change at all. This is meant in no way to compete with the job that they are doing. Because trust me, track announcers have a busy job. Touring series announcers have nothing on the track guys. I've been both. This is just purely for those that choose to listen along online that can't make it to be at the races in person. So in closing, I want to thank everyone for their support of the Half Price Concessions. Easy for me to say. Thank everybody for their support of the Half Price Concessions podcast. We're going to keep cranking out episodes at least through the end of 2020. In 2021, we may still do an episode or two from time to time, but we're not going to be on any kind of regular schedule like we have been over the last 2 years. So be sure and stay tuned to our Facebook page at the Half Price Concessions Podcast. Also, stay tuned to us on Twitter at HPC Podcast, and stay subscribed to us on our podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castro, Castbox, and Himalaya. You can also follow us on our website. That's www.anchor.fm/HPC Podcast. And as always, you can always email us directly at halfpricedconcessionspodcast@gmail.com. But we're excited. We're looking forward to this opportunity whenever the opportunity does appear. And we're just not limited to A Speedway. If other racetracks within a reasonable distance are open to this idea, we'd love to take this thing to other racetracks. Ones that don't have audio broadcasts of their races and would be willing to give this thing a shot. If it's within a reasonable driving distance of Ruffin, North Carolina, I'm certainly open to it because I want this to be something that helps promote local racing and give it another platform, another place to shine, if you will. Because local racing is going to need it way more than it ever has before once we get out of all this mess that the governor's got us in. The main thing is, though, is that the best is yet to come. But for now, my name is Tyler Williams, and until the Lord comes back for us, let's stay grounded in our faith, and I'll be seeing you at a racetrack soon. So long, everyone, and thank you for your support of the Half Price Concessions podcast. Stay tuned for more news to come on the Half Price Concessions Broadcast Network.